Nicolas Sarkozy, the former French president, right? So he's just been sentenced to jail for corruption, but there's a twist, as there always is. So let's take a look at the article. This is from the BBC. Sarkozy, former French president, sentenced to jail for corruption. He's been sentenced to 3 years in jail, 2 of them suspended already for corruption. He was convicted of trying to bribe a judge in 2014 after he had left office by suggesting he could secure a prestigious job for him in return for information about a separate case. Okay? Sarkozy, who's 66, is the first former French president to get a custodial sentence. Aw, how quaint. His lawyer says he will appeal. Sarkozy will remain free during that process, of course, which could take years. And tomorrow he's even doing an interview on TF1, which is a French channel. So, you know, if you're a former French president, yeah, it's okay that you're corrupt, man. It's all right. Like, first of all, your sentence is slashed before you've even served 1 day of it. And, you know, you can serve it at home. And, like, you know, you don't even have to come in to nothing. Just go home. Go home. Whatever. It's fine. In the ruling, Judge Christine May said the conservative politician knew that what he was doing was wrong, adding that his actions and those of his lawyer had given the public a very bad image of justice. The crimes were specified as influence peddling and violation of professional secrecy. It is a legal landmark for post-war France. The only precedent was the trial of Sarkozy's predecessor, Jacques Chirac, who got a 2-year suspended sentence in 2011 for having arranged bogus jobs at Paris City Hall for allies when he was Paris mayor. Chirac died in 2019. If Sarkozy's appeal is unsuccessful, he could serve a year at home with an electronic tag rather than go to prison. So you see what's going on here? Again, even if he loses the appeal, it doesn't matter because he's just going to be under house arrest. He's not actually going to see the inside of a prison cell. Wow. I mean, that's just... I'm really feeling the justice here, right? C'est vraiment extraordinaire, hein? C'est vraiment bien fait tout ça, c'est bien correct. Oui, oui. Donc... Stephen Colbert, I want to show you what he said. Hold on, I'm trying to get this goddamn thing up over here so you can see. All right, so here we go. This is what Stephen Colbert said. He says, there's so much I admire about the French, their sophistication, their cinema, their willingness to prosecute former presidents. Oh, you get it, guys? You see? He's taking a jab at Trump. Orange Cheeto Man bad, right? Wow, so brave. That's amazing. Well done. Muck resistance, let's go. Didn't you just fucking impeach Trump twice? Do you want to do it a third time? You know what? I think we should do it a third time. You guys should go ahead and do it a third time, right? Why fight? Why fight for the $15 minimum wage? No. Just, you know, deal with Neera Tanden. Go impeach Trump like 10 million times because you know he's not going to go to jail anyway. You know, do shit like that. Don't actually like do your jobs and serve the people. No, let's just waste time. That's resistance. Yay, resistance. And of course, you know what he leaves out? He leaves out the fact that people in France are not fucking idiots. They know that this is all an act. They know Sarkozy is not going to jail, not just because that's what it says in the verdict, but because he's just a former president. He's not going to see any form of justice whatsoever, right? Whether you're a sitting president, former president, doesn't matter. These people live in another political and economic class. Everyone knows that. The difference is that in France, people protest. They have general strikes. They have the yellow vest movement. They actually get shit done. They go out on the fucking streets and they don't settle for the kind of bullshit like this, like fucking tweets and, oh, Orange Cheeto Man bad. That's the difference. But of course, he's not going to tell you that part because he doesn't actually admire that part about the French. You know, that part is not really good for neoliberal elites. They don't want you protesting. They don't want you actually going on general strikes because, you know, when you cut their money and the money of their donors, then that's a real problem, right? That's why they don't want you actually to go on general strike. They don't want you to actually do things that would enact change. No, it's much easier to say, look, go and vote for these so-called progressives who, look, they don't take corporate money, but they're still going to get co-opted. So, and same result. Yeah, go and vote for that. Like maybe in 50 years or like 60 years or like when you're dead already, then maybe there will be like a significant margin of progressives in the Democratic Party, and then finally we'll have like a strong voting bloc, you know, in our dreams. right? But definitely, absolutely don't go on strike, which could get you changes tomorrow morning, which could get you results right now next week. Don't do that because we don't actually want change, right? No. It's really interesting, their logic, right? They tell you straight up, like you'll have you name it, any progressive you want, Bernie Sanders, whatever. They'll come and tell you, yeah, look, all these special interests, they've bought Washington. All these special interests, they control the politicians. It's all about the money, right? Okay, so let's take away the money. Just stop creating the fucking wealth. Get them, cause them losses. And that would bring the economy to a standstill, right? You go on a general strike, you're going to cut their money, aren't you? You're going to hurt their pockets, aren't you? That's why Amazon fired Chris Smalls as soon as he started organizing strikes in an Amazon warehouse, right? That's why you have the Taft-Hartley Act, to make sure that people don't actually go on strike, because the entire union benefits from the concessions, which sounds good on paper, but it just means like you don't have to go on strike. You can just sit on your ass. No, actually the opposite. You can come to work and sit on your ass and not participate in the strike, and you'll still get all the concessions that end up being negotiated, which is just an incentive to not go on strike, because people are going to be like, why would I risk my job and make my manager mad? I'm just going to go to work and not strike, because obviously even if I don't strike and we do get concessions, I'll still benefit. And then you end up with people who just don't go on strike. You end up with people who don't join unions. Right? So they'll tell you everything except actually hurting the pockets from the bottom on up, right? They'll tell you everything except that. So we're getting a little sidetracked over here, but I need to tell you that because I talked about this with Richard Wolff the other day, Professor Wolff, and we talked about how France has this culture, this mentality of, we have solidarity between workers. We go on strike. On fait grève. Ouais, on fait grève. C'est pas... C'est normal. C'est normal de faire ce genre de truc. Mais pour les Américains, c'est pas normal. Ils n'ont pas cette mentalité dans leur culture. Ça n'existe pas. So, going back to Sarkozy, another interesting thing, right? Another interesting thing, because what other accusations is Sarkozy facing? He's due to go on trial next month over the so-called Blumenthal affair, in which he is accused of having overspent in his unsuccessful 2012 campaign. Prosecutors are also investigating claims that Sarkozy received funding for his 2007 campaign from Libya's then leader, Gaddafi. Sarkozy has already been cleared in connection with the Betancourt case. He said all investigations against him were politically motivated. Despite his legal woes, he has remained popular in right-wing circles a year away from another presidential election. So just on that note with Gaddafi, right? It's said, and I'm pretty sure this is real, because Gaddafi's son confirmed it, and Sarkozy's as corrupt as they get, so why not? He took 50 million. Okay, in 2007, Gaddafi gave Sarkozy, the former French president, 50 million euros. And they were bringing these in like stuffed suitcases. It's just like in the movies, right? And then what happened a few years later? So this motherfucker takes Gaddafi's money. He wins the election. And then 4 years later, he comes and bombs the shit out of Gaddafi. You remember? They made a no-fly zone over Libya. They destroyed Libya. Libya is now in tatters. It has a slave trade. You have a situation where it's just like Iraq kind of spilled over and destroyed the rest of the region, including Syria, and you had terrorists crawling all over the place. The same thing in Libya, right? You have Turkey that's involved there. Flying in mercenaries from northern Syria. You have foreign jihadists coming in, and then they're not just staying in Libya, they're going over into other countries, in neighboring African countries, and you have a whole shadow war going on there, right? And of course, America has their hand in it as well. But it's interesting how they try Sarkozy over like some bullshit in France. Like, yeah, he's corrupt. We're not, là, y a pas de question. What about Libya? What about Libya? All the people whose lives were destroyed there, who were turned into refugees, who were displaced, who were killed. What about that? What about his involvement in that? Nothing? Of course, nothing. Because as we talked about before, these kinds of people, former presidents, they don't see any justice. There's another justice system for them, which includes an electronic tag and a reduced sentence by 66%, by 2/3, and you can spend it at home, right? You know, God forbid Julian Assange is allowed to stay home during his what is he serving again? That's right, nothing. He's not serving a sentence. He's not convicted of anything. He just happens to be in Belmarsh prison because the U.S. wants to lock him up, right? And then, of course, you know, the terrorists like Abu Qatada, these other Al-Qaeda figures who were in the same prison as Julian Assange in Belmarsh prison, they're allowed on house arrest. They're allowed out on house arrest, but not Julian Assange, right? Sarkozy can go and have house arrest in France, but, you know, no one else, right? If you are not privileged enough to be a former French president or, you know, a part of their jihadist networks and their little, pawns is the word I'm looking for. If you're not actually useful, if you're not a tool or part of their club, you get the regular justice system, which means no justice, right? It's horrendous. It's horrendous. These countries, they colonized half the planet, you know, Britain, France, saying that, you know, they're more civilized and their way of living is better, and white man knows best, all this bullshit. And then, you know, you look at them and they still have massive inequality. There's no such thing as a true, real judiciary. They give special treatment to corrupt sacks of shit like Sarkozy and Tony Blair. This is what we're dealing with, right? And then they have the nerve to go and lecture Arabs and Africans about, nation building and democracy. Go and fuck yourselves.